Have you experienced judgmental parents? In this video, we're going to unpack the effect that controlling or judgmental parents, or maybe hypersensitive parents or insensitive parents, have had on your life and have had the impact they have had on your intimate relationships, the patterns of being and relating, of how you give and receive love, how you see yourself, how you've cultivated your self-esteem and your self-worth. A lot of this has been derived from how you've seen your parents and how you've seen them seeing you. And it can be challenging. Like, imagine growing up, and maybe you don't have to imagine it because this is very real for you. Imagine growing up with parents. And let me actually caveat something here very briefly. This isn't about blaming your parents for your life. This isn't about forgetting about who you are or who you've been. This isn't about blaming someone else and advocating responsibility for your life. This isn't hating on your parents either. Yes, they did the best they could with what they had, with their level of consciousness and awareness, with their unresolved wounding. But you get to break that generational cycle now with your awareness. Now, part of that process may be projecting hate on them, projecting anger on them, big emotions on them. Now, I don't necessarily recommend you actually physically do that. There are ways to do that. When I'm working with clients, there are ways to, because sometimes we have this anger and animosity or pain towards our parents, big emotions towards our parents, and our parents have passed on. They're not physically here with us. And so how do you then communicate that to them? Well, it's not about them, it's about you and how you've related to that experience in that situation. So if you've had judgmental parents, controlling parents, insensitive parents, parents that ignored you, parents that couldn't see you, parents that didn't appreciate you, more than likely it's affected the way you've shown up in relationship. You've taken a cue or many cues from that core relationship with your parents. So again, it's not about blaming them. It's about how can you show up for yourself now to have the relationship that you want. And maybe your parents taught you that you had to minimize yourself and maximize their needs. Maybe there was enmeshment or entanglement with your mother or your father. Maybe they projected their emotional needs onto you. Maybe you had a mother that saw you as everything in her life because she didn't have that very stable, connected relationship with her husband, your father. Maybe your father left from a very young age, or your mother left from a very young age, and you felt abandoned. And coming into intimate adult relationships, you now can't trust people, and you struggle to trust a relationship. You have this fear that they're going to leave you or abandon you. So maybe you contort yourself to be someone you think they want you to be. Or maybe you shut your heart down and shut your body down, and you don't give yourself vulnerably and openly because you're too scared that that may be taken from you, that may also be rejected. Maybe you had parents that told you what you should and shouldn't do, and they were very rigid and harsh in their beliefs. Maybe it was religious indoctrination. Maybe it was just a very strict household that you grew up in, and you were never allowed to emote and express, and you bring that lack of expression in relationship, and your partner wants more from you, but you can't give more because you're so scared and you don't know how. Well, how do you free yourself from that? How do you free yourself from speaking your truth, communicating, expressing your truth into a container of what could be deep love and connection and intimacy? It's not always easy. And it comes with challenge because we have to break old habits. Because the association the brain has made is that if you deviate from this behavior, if you start speaking your truth and voicing your opinion, if you start being yourself, if you start giving love freely, we are in danger. It won't feel good because our past experience has said that when we give our love and show ourselves, our parents have rejected that or reprimanded that. They've told us that we're not good enough. And so the body, the physiology is very active and activated towards that. And so it's going to pull you away from being that person you really want to be and sharing that intimacy and love that you really want to share. But you just can't, you won't. And then you get caught in a loop, particularly if you're a high achiever. I'll give you another example. Your parents demanded more of you, yet they also restricted you in your expression, but they wanted more of you. And you figured out that you can be the best version of you if you can be great. If you can be the best, the top of the top, a high achiever, perfectionist, you may receive some form of love from them. Adoration, acceptance, which we all want that. We all want to be loved, accepted, respected, seen, understood. These are basic human constructs and needs. And now in intimate relationship, maybe you're competitive with your partner. Not because you want to be, but it's an unconscious paradigm playing out. You're going to get their love by being the best you can be. That means beating them or not beating them or being the best and having this focus, this myopic view of this is all that matters and this is how I receive and give love. But then you're caught in this cycle of your partner then saying, whoa, this is too intense for me. And then you argue, then you clash, and there's complementary wounding that comes in and it pushes on their wounding. Maybe they had dominant parents as well. And now you're dominating the situation with your competitiveness. And now they're pushing you away. And so the cycle continues. Different face, different name, different haircut, different person, but same patterns are playing out. So I want to share with you today one thing that you can do, that you can begin to shift this dynamic that's just playing out from childhood. Two things. The first is you have to be aware. You've got to get aware of what are these patterns, and that requires introspection, self-reflection, quiet time, solitude with yourself, seeking help, counsel, psychologists, counselors, coach, spiritual healers, teachers, whatever it may be, to give you insight and perspective into the dynamics and the patterns that are playing out, so you can map the consciousness of your reality. You can map what is actually happening, connect the past, the present, and the future. Because you won't be able to do that completely on your own. But the main thing I wanted to speak to today in order to start breaking these patterns, and of course you need the self-awareness to do so, are micro commitments. So if you're one of those people that have been really harshly judged and critiqued by your parents, unconsciously or consciously, right? Because it's maybe happened unconsciously. It hasn't been overt. Hasn't been your parents saying, you're bad, you're wrong, you're disgusting. Hasn't been that level of emotional or even physical abuse. It's been more subtle as in you'd perform and you maybe even wouldn't get a response or reaction. You thought you would do well. You felt you did really, really well, but they would ignore you or they weren't around to even acknowledge that. And so you were constantly seeking this approval and validation, but you weren't receiving it. So that helped you, or contributed to, it wasn't really help, but contributed to you not having a voice as an adult and being scared of being judged, rejected, ridiculed, humiliated. And so what happens is you play small, you minimize yourself, you maximize others, you contort yourself, but you're never really satisfied. And then you feel empty. And in order to feel full, you go to quick, fix, short-term gratification. Drugs, alcohol, status, achieving more, accumulating more, eating food, watching TV, binging, addictions, compulsions, sex, pornography, you name it. But in order to begin to shift this fear of being judged, to speak your truth, to express at a deeper level, make micro commitments to yourself. Commitments that aren't too big. They don't feel too scary. They're not too intense. They're commitments that you can make that are mirroring what you really want to be inside, but not to the extent that's too overwhelming or too big. And I'll give you an example. If you've had parents, let me do this. Let's just say you have a relationship with your parents and you love and care about your parents, but there's also some tension there. And let's say you have, as an adult now, needy parents, or you feel obliged to reach out to them on a regular basis. You feel obliged to see them every week. You feel obliged to do something for them. Maybe in those conversations that you have, when they're sharing an opinion that's different to yours, you can share your truth. It can be quietly. It can be, doesn't have to be intense. Doesn't have to be overpowering. You can say, I respectfully disagree. Now, they may be very harsh with you. They may meet you with an intensity back. They may react to you and you may not be ready for that. And then you're going to come back into that shell and just be agreeable or not express your truth. Now, is that ideal? No, but you've made progress, a micro commitment. but you've also got to cultivate enough resilience in your body and your being to be able to handle that. That's why you need support in your life. So you can go to that support and say, these are the new steps I took. It felt really scary, but I did it. Now you're building new patterns and new ways of behaving. Now you're going to get some feedback on that. Now you're going to get some further support on that. That's an example. Maybe you're with a friend or you're having a complication at work and normally you wouldn't speak up, but in this way you would. Maybe you write an email. Maybe you tell your friend that, hey, it feels unfair that you're late all the time. It feels like you don't respect my time. I love you so much, but it feels like you don't respect my time. I just want to say that. Maybe you can tell them that you're in this practice of speaking your truth at a deeper level. Maybe you got a bunch of buddies and you guys hang out every month, but you're the one that's always organizing it and you're tired of that. You want someone else to take the lead, or you want someone else to, you just want to feel wanted as well. So speak your truth. Say, hey guys, I'm not organizing it this month. One of you do it. Whatever it looks like, make a micro commitment that is scary, but not too scary. It has to be a little scary, but not too scary, that you're not going to do it. It's a micro commitment to yourself and to your truth. Start there, get some support, cultivate your self-awareness, and begin to shift out of these old patterns and these old paradigms that no longer serve you. Power and blessings. I'll see you soon.